Welcome to Dance Fit Biz Builders. I'm Orit, dancer, instructor, and proud owner of a thriving belly dance fitness business. And in this podcast, I'm giving it to you straight, sharing what it takes to kickstart and grow your dance and fitness business for the success you deserve. Whether you're a seasoned instructor, a passionate performer, or dreaming of turning your love for dance and fitness into a thriving career, you're in the right place. Lace up those sneakers and pull on those dance shoes and get ready for truth smacks, tips, and inspiration. Let's do this. Hey there, and welcome to Dance Fit Biz Builders. I'm Orit, your host, and we're doing something a little different. I am giving you a workshop that we did a few years ago here on the Sharky platform, and it's a workshop with Nicole Rodriguez, and she is talking about building community, and it's community that brings people back. And I think you're going to find a lot of great tidbits here. And what I really love most about this is that this was like a nice little collaboration workshop, if you will. A lot of people chimed in and gave their sort of insights. So without further ado, here we go and enjoy.
I want to thank you all so much for sharing your Sunday with me here. And I'm honored to be here. This is my first Sharky workshop. I know Orit, and we've had some really interesting conversations, and they have been the impetus for creating this workshop because as teachers, we're always looking to grow our classes, to retain our students. There's a lot of, ups and downs and ebbs and flows with attendance. So I have points that I want to cover and ideas that I want to explore with you all, but I also want to make this interactive because it makes it a lot more interesting and we learn from each other and we all have a lot to share because we are all teachers. And I'd also like to start with just, we all come to dance, teaching dance at a different entry point for a different reason. And I would like to begin with the reason why I teach. And one of our students she'll be 80 this year. She's gorgeous. She's a gorgeous dancer. She is an inspiration. And I teach largely 50 plus. I mean, I have some women in their 40s, but it's largely a 50 plus crowd. So she came up to me after class and she said, Nicole, she performed, she taught dance. So she's like a lifelong dancer, but she had been away from it for decades. And she said, Nicole, I want to thank you. I never thought that I was going to be doing these big kicks and these flowy movements and these hip rotations and these sequencing and experiencing this joy again in a class setting. And it has been decades. So thank you for making that accessible. Thank you for offering that. And that lights me up. That is so exciting to me that I was able to create a space where she was able to bloom again, right? In the dance space. But as exciting as it is for her, it's that exciting for me. It's like a miracle that I'm actually in this space and doing this. Because personally, I've had a lot of pain, chronic pain, and I was actually on disability for many years due to an auto accident and chronic pain. So it's been a very long and profound road, but it's like an incredible gift that I'm here, that I'm talking with you guys, fellow teachers, and that I'm able to dance again. And Orit and I talk about this a lot, and Orit, you can chime in at any point. I mean, in my 50s, even if I hadn't had all that injury, I wouldn't be dancing the way that I danced in my 20s. And that's okay. That's fine. It's beautiful. Dance is ageless. And we need more opportunities to see these sophisticated dancers, these mature dancers whose bodies have changed and who are not able to move the same way that they used to move, but we can still move. And we can, in some ways, move. Our movement is richer and it's fuller, and we are more comfortable in our bodies. So that's what lights me up. And that is bringing this gift, the gift of movement, to dancers of all abilities and of all ages and of all bodies, and to be able to share it too. It's a twofer because I get to experience that and move as well. So that's why I'm doing it. But this is not my day job. My day job is as a corrective exercise therapist. I do posture work and I help folks with pain issues resolve their pain issues and also help them get back to doing what they love to do and also get stronger and improve their balance and so forth. And that informs my work and informs my teaching because really want to keep folks safe, because I really want to keep myself safe, and I want to keep doing this for decades to come. And I want to be like those rock stars who are in their 80s and they're jamming in dance classes with me. Like, those are my idols. I want to also tell you that I have not arrived yet. Yet is the operative word. Like, I am a fellow traveler on the path. I am still scared no one's going to show up. I get a ton of performance anxiety. I have a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of doubt. Even though I've got a really strong background in dance and dance for many, many years, it doesn't matter, because, teaching is a very vulnerable experience. Like, where you're not selling a widget. It feels very personal, and it feels like this is who I am. It doesn't feel like a huge separation. I'm not just like selling insurance. I'm like, this is the way that I move. These are the sequences that I've presented. Like, it's a vulnerable space, and I try to keep things very light when I teach and very joyful. And I have students saying, oh, you're always in a great mood. You're always smiling. Sometimes I'm like, I am dying inside. Like there's a lot that they don't see, right? And I see some Angie shaking her head and Casey shaking her head, or Reed, but it's part of the process, right? And it's also, guys, like, why we're here. We are here. We are entertainers. We're here. People are very busy. And they're spending their very hard-earned money with us. They're spending their very, very precious time. They're pulled in many directions, but they're carving out like 2+ hours a week, like, an hour for the class and the travel time, and blocking it out in their schedules. So that is a real honor that they are spending their time with us. And they are not, I'm kind of skipping around, but they're not just there for the dance steps. And that kind of back to what Casey was saying, like, she wants to encourage these friendship, what Cindy was saying. That's part of what she promotes, is that you're going to come for dance. You're going to grow your friendship circle. If they just want content, they really could go to YouTube, right? And have like no exchange. They're there to be in your presence, in your energy. They're there for the experience. They're there to forget about their life for a while, to forget about their worries for a while, to leave it at the door. Because that community, that is really what's going to keep people coming back. Now, any questions, any comments?
I just didn't realize how building community is like the most important thing. I mean, aside from like being a great teacher, I mean, you can even be, a crappy teacher, but if you have that community, you'll get those people. So I didn't realize how important it is.
I totally agree, because the community is what is going to keep people coming back. Like, you want to be prepared as a teacher, and you want to deliver, and you want to challenge your students, and you want to be attentive to your students. But those friendships, like those connections, that is so powerful. And we're going to chat about some other things too, because habit's very powerful as well. And making it easy for people to keep on coming back is an important thing too. But I'm very fortunate in that where I work, where I rent space and work with folks privately, and where I teach classes, I work with my mentor, who is the studio owner, and she's been teaching for many years. And she was taught by one of her trainings is in yoga. And she was taught by one of her mentors that, like, these conversations that happen amongst the students, you want to actually fade away. Like, he would actually encourage his students to go into the back of the studio so that your students can get closer to each other. And because that is what is going to keep them coming back week after week, right? Which is a really, I thought it was such an interesting approach, because it's so like not about us, and it's so about our students. So our egos have to like take a side step to that. Because that, we are all replaceable as teachers, but the community is so, and I'll be honest, and I think it was Angie that mentioned she's in Minnesota, and that there are a lot of opportunities for dance in Minnesota. And I hear you, sister, because in Philly, there are a lot of opportunities for dance. Like, there's a lot of competition. There are a lot of options for people, which is good for all of us, because we want more dance, and we want people to have the dance options that resonate with them and light them up. But you got to hustle, because you're not the only show in town. And that's, that keeps us sharper, and that makes us resourceful and gives us grit. But we want to stack the deck in our favor to keep people coming back. And then Ori, and this was interesting. So, Ori, if you wouldn't mind sharing why it is you came back, because it leads me into the next piece of this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I went into her class just to move differently because I've been doing belly dance for a long time. And I missed that contemporary just style because that's what I used to do in New York. And as soon as I walked into her class, I was like the newbie. And she said, "Hello, what's your name?" And then she introduced me to each member, each person in her class. And I was astonished. I was like, this never happened to me before. I feel so comfortable. I feel so welcomed. I feel so nurtured, you know? And I was like, that's what kept me coming back. And I realized, you know, I can do the movement. I'm not going there to learn more technique. I realized, why the heck do I go all the time? It's because of Nicole. She makes me feel so comfortable.
Thank you for sharing. And thank you. But it's not about me. It's about it's about the community that my students have created. Like I'm very lucky to create this platform where they can meet every week. I can present content, but it's kind of like a little tribe. And there's just something very powerful about, and it's largely women, you know, and men are totally welcome, but they just don't, they come and they don't really stay. It's like this, it's a tribal need to like come together and move together. And I think as women too, it's like, we can't get together and pick berries, guys, but we can like come together and dance. And that's a very powerful human need that is being met. How do we do this? So you're going to know every student's name that comes into your class. And if you're not like it, you know, sometimes it's hard to remember names. You want to do whatever, you want to make notes, you want to do whatever kind of memory tricks are going to be helpful for you to remember their names. And they're going to know each other's names because you're going to introduce them and hopefully you feel comfortable with this. Everyone has their own teaching style, but in my experience, it's been very helpful. I like to see myself as a hostess. And I want to make connections. So I want to not only know their names, I want to know something about their life. I want to know if if their son is having a bar mitzvah. I want to know if their daughter's getting married. I want to know if they're a writer and this is the first book that they published in their 70s, because I'm thinking in my mind, wait, we got someone else in the class who's a librarian and a writer who just published her first book, is going to want to have her book featured in the library. And I know that these 3 students are fine artists, they're sculptors, and they're going to have a lot to talk about. I know these 3 students, I know where my students live because they all live in the same township. So that's a nice, strong connection too. And you go to the same stores and do you know which house is mine? So I'm like looking for how do I create it so that I can say, oh, Amy, do you know Tasha? Oh my gosh, you guys have this interest. And then I can step away because it's not really about me. It's about this connection that I want to form. And it's not like a manipulative thing. It's a party thing. It's like you want your guests to have a good time. You can't spend all night talking by their sides. You want to make them like feel like they belong and find the commonalities. Does that make sense?
I have a question, Nicole, because that was one of the things I was going to ask you when I came. Somebody pointed this out to me when I told him, I'm like, I am terrible at remembering names. The games don't work. Nothing works for me. Mm-hmm. And he said, what works for you is you have to have a relationship. You have to have this little bit of time. Something has to stick in your brain, a story, a conversation. You can't just meet someone because your brain goes, okay, I met you once. I don't have anything to hold on to you. I've got a lot up here, so I've got to let you go until something happens. And that's very true. I have to have something that sparks, like you said, oh, you're a writer, or something that'll click. Oh, this person is always so stylish. But I don't know how to do that in a dance gym setting where it's like, okay, I've got 1 hour, next class is coming in, I've got to leave. So what would be your advice, your tips, your tricks for getting to know people as far as introducing yourself? And do you ask, what do you ask? What do you do?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's an awesome question, Casey. And I am very lucky in the sense that I'm in I'm in this little boutique studio. And right after my classes, I'm the last class of the morning. Like there aren't a lot of classes offered like you would have in a larger gym setting. So my ladies can like hang out and they can chit chat and one, some go get changed after class. And, there's just like, there's downtime. So I'm going to ask, has anyone taught in a gym setting and has experiences where it's like back to back to back to back and still been able to like get to know their students?
I have. Yeah. I say, oh, if you have any questions for me, let's take it outside. And there's like a little section by the weights where we can all talk.
I have 2 classes back to back. And what I tell my students in my first class is, if you have any questions or if there's something you want to go over, I'll be here a little bit early every week. And you're welcome to come in a little bit early and ask questions or go over something quickly. And that seems to work for me.
That's great. It's a big space, right? It's a gym space. So you don't have to be occupying that studio space to continue conversations.
Right.
Right. So, and I think that's beautiful that you arrive early and let them know that, you're there for them. It's kind of like when we were in college and professors had office hours, like that's, you're carving out that time exclusively for them. And that makes students feel special. That helps them to create community and lets them know that they're heard, right? As far as the names piece, my husband and I moved into a new home 2 years ago, and it's a very friendly neighborhood. And I'm meeting neighbors and trying to remember names. One of my neighbors across the street, he asked the name of our dog, my name, my husband's name. And he said, okay, I'm going to go inside and I'm going to write this down in my notebook or else I'm going to forget it. So I was like, brilliant, because why I wouldn't expect him to remember, but he lives across the street. So we are going to see each other again. It's good to know your neighbor's name. So like anything like help you to refresh your memory, to jog your memory with that. And then when you introduce students to each other, and especially in a gym setting, if you're introducing students to each other, that is going to like totally set you apart from other instructors, because that's just like, it's not even the environment that would ever happen, probably happen. Because I've taken classes in gyms and instructors usually don't know my name, let alone, it's just like a very large space, high volume. So that alone gives you a real advantage, but also week after week, because people have very busy lives, it's going to be interrupted. They're not going to be able to like never miss a class. Like, make sure that try to remember, do they still remember their names? Because even though you introduced them once, we're not going to assume that they held on to that information, right? So it's like, oh wait, you guys do know people, right? Or Reed and Casey. So you want to reestablish that connection. And then speaking of that, like as far as regulars go, and if you are able to, and I know we all have different settings where we teach, like I always text my new students after class and thank them for joining me and tell them, love dancing with you. Like I've got their contact information and they didn't give it to me. I can access it through our software. That would be something that would be a really helpful thing, to have the contact information for your students, not to like harass, not to like sell them, like not like that. It's like, thanks for joining me. That was, and it actually happened when I went to a gym too. The instructor emailed the 2 new classes that I tried. Hey, thank you for joining me. Hope to see you soon. And it was just like a nice additional touch. I took a class at a yoga studio. They sent me a postcard. Thank you for joining me. Like a nice, like a nice follow up.
I'm wondering if, because I'm also not good yet about remembering names. What do you think about taking a few minutes at the beginning of class and asking everybody to introduce themselves?
Personally, I think it's a great idea. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great idea to because you're still learning, you're still learning their names. You don't have them all down is what you're saying. There's like a lot of fluctuation.
Right. Because I'm not, I don't check them in. So
right.
I only really learn the names of the few that become regulars, then I know their names. But
absolutely.
Maybe if asking each week and just making a habit of it for them to introduce, it is repeating it for my partner and I, and it gives them a way to introduce everybody, maybe even asking a quick question each week, something to like a little, I don't know if we can keep it short enough, but
how was your, tell me something that you're grateful for, or
right. What brought you to class, or what's your favorite, whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people like that. Okay.
I think that's a great suggestion. I mean, I like anything that you feel comfortable, that resonates with you, that helps to kind of crack the ice, right? Like icebreakers. And I used to take salsa classes where we would close the class with sharing something that we're grateful for that day. And it was like a very beautiful way to close the class. And I thought it was really lovely. I tried doing that with my class, one of my classes, like before the pandemic. And I remember one of my students was just like, I don't want to share. I don't feel comfortable sharing. You know, it's like it's not gonna work. Like not everyone's gonna feel comfortable sharing. Not everyone's gonna be into it, or maybe people will if it's something that is maybe a little more straightforward, like, you know, like, why are you here today? But I say experiment. Like that the only way we're gonna find these strategies, these tactics that resonate with us is by trying them out. So yeah, I think that's great. And that also helps you along as you are getting to know your students' names too. But if you guys can access like that information, their personal information, to follow up with them, it's a big part of what I do. Because I'll tell you, when I have regulars and then they go missing for several weeks, like, you better believe I'm following up, because, you know, something really, they could be going through something in their lives that I would want to like just reach out and be supportive, and or it could be that they are like onto the next shiny object and they're, you know, and that's okay too. But just that outreach, like, hey, you matter. I notice you're not here. Like, I'm thinking of you, and drop me a line. Like, let me know what's happening, is huge. When you know what's going on in your students' lives, you can also promote your students too. Like, Orit, as a dance professional, as a teacher, if she's performing at the end of class, it's like, hey guys, this is what's going on in the studio, but, you know, Orit's got a workshop coming up. Or, you know, so another student has a book signing, like, oh, you know, if you know of events, that's going to make people feel cared for and loved too, because this is like you think about what you want from your own family, either the family that you've created or your family of origin. You want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to feel like we matter. So these types of like inquiries and like, oh, hey, I know you and your husband are looking for, like, you know, you're relocating. How's that going? That makes us feel cared for. And like, as being part of a tribe, that's the whole point, right? So, so getting the personal information, getting their information to follow up with them is going to be really, really key. And then what happens when you promote your students' interests and they are cared for is that you will start to hear them selling for you, right? So I see some people shaking their heads. Yes. Orit, I see a big head shake.
No, yeah, this is what happens in our virtual studio. You know, people love being in it. They like the workout, you know, and they just tell their friends. It's just easy. Just sit back and they did the promotion for you.
Like golden is a beautiful thing, right? And they're going to sell you better than you're going to sell you, because it's hard to sell yourself. You're like, you know, it's uncomfortable. And here's the thing, when your students are selling their friends or selling their sister or selling like their neighbor or people that, you know, they have things in common with and they may share similar tastes, it's a very high likelihood that their BFF is going to really appreciate your class too. And their BFF wants to dance with them every week. Like, we all live very full lives and we're pulled in a lot of directions, but to give them a reason to come together and like have this social piece where they're seeing their dear friend and they're also getting healthier and moving and, you know, experiencing this joy, the joy of movement together, is like a very powerful and very effective way, right, to grow your classes. So, and that's awesome. And that's the outcome. So we talked about stepping away, talked about finding these communities among the students. I mean, certainly creating events is a wonderful way to create community. And this is something that I have gotten lazy with personally, but there was a concert that we went to, the dancers, and a dinner, and it was a lot of fun. It was terrific. It does require some work on the part of the instructor, because you want to give some thought to an event that's going to be well received. It's going to be, you know, the right cost, the right interest level. But let me tell you, I mean, that's a very powerful way. Has anyone created events with their dancers? Because I'd actually like some ideas with that too.
Only events that I've created, which is scheduling a lunch or a dinner for the girls to get together to know one another better, or at the studio have just a small intimate open house where the students can come together, have something to drink, finger foods, and just chit chat. The other thing is like a belly dance swap of clothing. if they want to swap or buy. And then that's a time for them to get together again,
Yeah.
first, to have a Coke, whatever. That's a fun
Nice.
time.
I love it. And then I have some comments here. Let's see. People, field trips to restaurants with dancers are great. That is an awesome idea. That's like, you're giving me ideas here. That's great. Haflas, you guys are great with the community recitals, certainly. And then and also had, right, people trust people they know. Yeah, absolutely. And it's, we want to get people to know us, to like us, and then to trust us, right? And when they trust us, that's when people spend money. That's when they are going to commit. We are, in a way, we are selling, and people are hesitant to, like, they want to feel like they matter, and they want to get to know us and like us first before they are committing. Now, at the studio, and I know all of you, I don't know how much say you all have in the practices where you teach, but at our studio, we want to like lower the barrier to get new people in, right? Because new people are so critical to, it's like the lifeline of your business. We always need we need new bodies, because there is going to be loss over time, and things, just people's lives change and their needs change and their bodies change, injuries, what have you. So at the studio, we have the first class free for all students. So, like, money is not going to be a barrier to trying us out, to dipping their toes into what we offer. Then we want to help them develop a habit. Because when you develop a habit, you take the thinking out of it, and it's automatic. It's like, oh, okay, every Friday morning I'm in dance class, so I'll schedule my hair appointment for after that, or like, or I'll meet my friend for lunch instead of for breakfast. Like, when it's a habit, then things are automatic. There's no longer thought like, well, should I go to dance class, or should I go take water aerobics, or should I go for a run at the track? So we want to get people to that place, but it takes a lot of repetition to get to that place. So at our studio, we're able to discount like a first package, right? So the first package of classes would be 15% off, and that's it's a one-time thing for us. So anything to help them to come more regularly, to develop a habit, to take the thought out of it and the question whether or not to. So that's something to think about with your classes, and if you're able to offer those types of incentives. As far as creating the loving environment that I spoke of, so we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to feel like we matter. So we want to observe our students during teaching. We don't want to just have this syllabus, the sequence of steps that we're going to prepare and present, regardless of how it's being received and regardless of who shows up. So emotional intelligence is a big piece of this. Reading the smiles, reading the room, taking a pulse, looking at their expressions. Is it joyful? Do they look really like stressed out? They're not coming to you to get really stressed out. I mean, well, they're not coming to me. I shouldn't speak for you. My class is a beginner class, and it's like, I'm keeping it moving. You do what you can. It's joyful. It's all good. These are not like the kind of technique classes I took when I was in my 20s and I wanted to, I was trying to perform and train and really like push and strive. This is a very different experience. So you want to follow those smiles, and you guys as belly dancers are like the little that I've seen with some haflas, and I have, I've been able to, I saw one of your virtual haflas, and I've attended a live hafla too. You guys are very supportive and encouraging, and that is like so powerful, that clapping, that like go, and that like making people like you're on their team. That's huge. But that observation, like giving your students feedback and cues and specific, like, you see maybe they're doing something it would be safer if they executed it a little differently for their body, or what like that makes folks feel cared for and feel loved. So stepping back and watching them, because it's not about us. And I remind myself this because I love to dance so much, and I'm having so much fun, but this is not for me. This is for my students. This is like, I want to get the focus away from me, because we're there to serve. We're in a role of service, and we're sharing in that joy, but like, I don't want to get caught up in that And as I say that to you, I'm saying that to myself. When we love what we do, it translates. That's the beauty of teaching dance, right? So that's going to resonate. It's going to speak to people on a level that words don't. So that's going to come across. So you love what you're doing. Don't worry about that. But we want to continue to bring that focus back to the people who are showing up every week and paying and taking time out of their life to be here. I sometimes write cards to my students. I don't write them to every student. Like I don't write every birthday card. But if there's like a big birthday, I'll send a card. If there's a big event, the student that I spoke of earlier, her book showed up in Barnes and Noble. I gave her a little card. So little tokens, letting your students know that you are thinking of them and what's happening in the world, I think can go a long way. You have, a dancer that has a death in her family. So things like of that nature, you're thinking of them. They're not alone. They're not alone in this. So I don't know how many of you can do this for your students, but in my studio, I'm able to book people in the schedule. So it's like, hey, are you going to be here next week? And yeah, I'll say, no, say, great, I'll put you in. Talking about lowering the barrier, free first class, discounted for your first package. People are very busy. If I can take one thing off their plate and register them for the class, that personally, I feel like has helped me. It's not going to be for everyone. Not everyone's going to be able to do it. You're also opening yourself up to text the night before. I don't feel well. Please take me out. My back is bugging me. Whatever is going on in the world. I don't have a car tomorrow morning. My husband's got the car. So you do open yourself up to that communication that, is not, that is a disruption, right? It's a little interruption. But I have found at this point, as I'm still growing, because I haven't been teaching dance for decades, I've returned to it after a really long road. So that is something that I find to be helpful. And I also, with some students, I'll say, well, I see you next week. And they're like, I'll schedule myself. They're like, so that stops that. But others, it's like, are you here? And I know when I'm going to see them again. Because most are like, yeah, I'm going to be in Wednesday. Oh yeah, you could put me down for Friday. So it's not like they're leaving and who knows. I used to take class with one woman at one teacher and she'd say, okay, I'll see you when I see you. For me, I want to see them again. And I want to know when I'm going to see them again. If they're open to that. Not everyone's going to be open to that.
I teach for the city and all the classes are scheduled way ahead of time. I can't offer any discount or anything like that. When it's the last class of the session, I always feel a little awkward because I want to say, oh, I hope everyone can return. I get sad when someone is so happy to be there and then I don't see them come back. So what do you suggest? If you know it's the last session and you don't know if you're going to see all these people again, do you have a suggestion, or maybe other people can chime in what they say at the end of the session?
Yeah. So when I used to teach for gyms, I made it a point to get everyone's email. And so what I did is I nurtured them once a week or every other week with an email with, hey, you guys did great. Here is the link to the choreography we did. Here's the music. So once they feel nurtured throughout the session, they're more likely to come back.
Yeah, I think you have to, like Orit says, you have to keep in contact with the client, and I'll try to send out emails. But when the class ends, the 6 or 8 week class, I say our next class is scheduled for such and such a date. Sign up and register in the office. I just say, hey, next class is going to start in another week. We have a week break and we're on track again. Let's go.
Our students are not thinking about our businesses, right? Because they've got a lot of other things going on in their worlds. So these reaches, these touches help to keep them in the fold thinking, oh yeah, I really did enjoy Marlene's class. I would love to experience that again. Now it's a new season. There's a new opportunity. Because it's we're in a very distracted time, right? Where we're bombarded with text messages and emails and family obligations and there's a lot going on, a lot of information. and someone asked, can you have a sheet and get their emails? And then, yes. And Marlene said, yes, I can get emails and cell phones. Yeah, that's going to be critical. And if you guys are able to, I don't know how much say you have in keeping the same day and time. I think that's a helpful thing too, because when we talk about habit, creating habit, if you're flipping your times and flipping your days, that's going to disrupt the habit that people have created in their lives. So we don't want to rock the boat with that. And when you have new students, and that's part of like knowing your regulars, knowing your names, because when the new student comes in, that's going to be obvious. So there's going to be focus on that new student. There's going to be like, hey, everyone, let's welcome, let's embrace Orit. She's a newbie. Because the new students, we want them to remain students and become regular students. So we want to focus in on their experience, and we want to give them attention, touch base with them after class. Even if you're in a gym, you pull them into the weights. Like, how did that feel for you? What's your feedback? I loved having you. I love, clearly you're a very free mover. You're joyful. Whatever like authentic feedback you can give that you appreciated having them. Because as a teacher, if I can, I try to have fewer new students in each class, because the more new students, the more divided my attention is going to be. And it's going to be less likely that I'm going to be able to convert that one student and have them, purchase a package and have them come back. And when you have new students, you can have new students at really varying abilities too. And then that makes it a little even more challenging as a teacher. So a lot of focus on the newbies. Does anyone else are newbies really on your radar?
Yeah, newbies are on my radar. I know for sure when I teach classes that I am always never doing the advanced version. I'm always staying on what the newbie can do,
Nice. Now, what about when you have a class that is more advanced movers, and then you have a newbie that's a less advanced mover?
I give options.
We want to have something for our different levels, and then that makes us better teachers. It's more challenging, and it's also more interesting having all these different options, different levels. I also wanted to chat with you guys about something that I didn't always do. Before the pandemic, I did not arrive that early to my classes. I was like 15 minutes, like, I gotta get the Bluetooth working out of my way, like stressed out, like rushing, it was like not a like really calm Zen vibe, it wasn't one with the universe. I was, it was like, I was there 9 minutes before my students walked in. So I have found, like, spoiler alert, you're actually calmer when you're not like racing against traffic to get to your class. And that if you take some time, if you arrive like well in advance of your class, you're going to even have like a better experience. Now, personally, I still do rehabilitative exercises like daily, and I certainly do them before class because I want to feel the best that I can feel teaching. It's not fun when you have pain and you're teaching. So I want to set my body up for success. So I'm arriving early to do that. And then I also want to set my peace of mind up for success. I want to be present with my students, and I still have room to grow with this. Absolutely. But when we are calmer, we can create more of this community by actually, like, when you ask someone how they're doing, you can actually focus on what they, on how they answer your question. And I like to make little notes on whiteboards that I reference during teaching. I like to have, my playlist is set in advance, which is, I didn't always do. I would kind of jump between playlists, and I find this, a much better user experience for all involved. But like that early arrival, and ideally having a few moments to be quiet with yourself. I actually started bringing a speaker to the studio as my backup in the anticipation that something's going to go wrong with the Bluetooth connection, and I often do have to take my phone off of Wi-Fi and just use my own data, because I find that's like a better signal too. But all the more reason, right? All the more reason to prepare for Murphy. Because Murphy's always bringing around. Yeah. It's life is never dull. It's never boring. The unexpected. Embrace the unexpected, right? A lot of the unexpected are the gifts as teachers. Like, oh, shoot, I didn't even plan that. That looks great. Let's do that. I like that variation. So welcome them, but plan for them. Plan for them by showing up early, and you're a little more ready for anything that life throws your way. And let's see what else to answer. So also, I want to encourage you to lean, like as we're kind of winding things down and wrapping things up on the Sunday afternoon, lean into who you are. Like lean into your teaching personality, because I can't be you. You can't be me. We have teachers that we love. We can't be those teachers. And that's great. That's good, because we all have these very special gifts, and we have they set us apart, and we have something new to offer to folks. So embrace it. Like personally, my teaching style is kind of I like to make people laugh. I'm a little loose and I got a big mouth. I like to talk a lot, but not everyone has that personality. And that's awesome, because I go to some classes where the teachers are very, they explain exquisitely. I learn so much from these explanations. There's such a level of detail. I feel so cared for in the way that they present. And it's so much quieter, like a totally different energy, but equal, just as powerful and beautiful. Lean into who you are, where your strengths lie, where you feel most comfortable, because just like loving what you do, people take notice. When you are feeling comfortable and you're playing to your strengths, that's going to help support your success. Because I don't know about you, but I find teaching to be really challenging. I find it to be an art. I find it to be a science. I find it to be never boring. And really just, it forces me to grow and feel really uncomfortable in a lot of different ways. And back to the vulnerability piece, what we do is not going to resonate with everyone. And that's okay, because we can't be all things to all people. So when we are so heavily focused on the extrinsic, like I'm not doing this to get rich. I'm doing this because I love it. And it is helping to feed my family and pay my mortgage and pay our bills. But there's a huge intrinsic motivation for me. The joy that I experience when I teach, and sharing my love of dance with people. So that is more powerful than the extrinsic, because the extrinsic, how many students show up week to week, I don't want to rely too heavily on that, because there are going to be fluctuations with that. There are going to be ebbs and flows, because that's the nature of business, right? So when we are more outcome focused, then we're kind of setting ourselves up to be more disappointed. When we stay, and as I'm saying this to you, I'm saying it to myself, when I focus on what I can control, and giving a strong class and feeling good about the class that I prepared, and feeling organized, and feeling like I put my best foot forward, even though there are things going on in my life, just like there are things going on in your life that are, causing me some worry and concern. But that I left it behind for an hour, and I showed up and I shared and I gave it my best. That's where I want my focus to stay, because that's going to be a healthier place. Because I can't control all the people and what their choices are, but I can control my efforts, and I can control which is in my control, and I can trust that I continue to take the next right step in front of the next right step, and this will continue to grow.
I know we're asking students to share with us, but I think it's important that we share something with them to make them remember us, to know that we're really a personable person. That's all I wanted to say. We need to share with them also.
And thank you for bringing that up, Cindy. And I feel like, personally, when I take class and the teacher's like, I've got a cranky knee, I'm going to modify today. I'm like, oh my God, they're human. It's like a beautiful thing. Or they say, oh, I slept for an hour and a half last night, so I may not be, I may not be totally sharp today, but I'm here and I'm happy to be here. Maybe we have an injury that we're working through. We ask a student to demonstrate something. When you ask someone for help, when you trust them, that endears them to you, right? Because as humans, we want to be needed, and we want to be helpful. So that's a way to also, Cindy, grow, and for everyone, that's a way for your community to grow closer when you go through things together.
Sometimes I walk into class and I say, I had a really bad day, and this is going to be the best part of my day. Seriously.
That is so true, Marlena. I love it that you shared that. That's beautiful.
I've walked into class and said, therapy time.
That's awesome. It is, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are getting as much as we are giving. listen, sometimes in class I'll be like, and as my therapist says, like it's just like, let it hang out, right? You know, we're all in this, we get it, you know, life is not easy. It's not without its challenges. We're all in this struggle together, but we get to share it. And that's like such a gift it's such a gift to finish teaching and be in a better mood than you were when you were started. Keep doing what you're doing. The world needs us.